Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to this night-ending bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost you a cent. Click that like button. Takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click that bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into this night ending bonus upload, shall we? All right, everybody. Tonight I have a subscriber and friend who has been on the show a couple different times, and he lives in the vicinity of Tazwell, Buchanan counties of Virginia, right close near Mercer County, West Virginia, where it's been a hot spot for the last couple of years, actually longer. And he has shared a lot of information with me and you guys out of that area. And tonight I have DJ with us. DJ, how are you, buddy?
Pretty good, Jeff.
Awesome. So you and I first met a while back because of the channel, and then I started to look into a lot of these weird cases last 2 years ago, when it seemed like there was a real major upswing of disappearances and then bodies being found in Tazwell, Buchanan, and Mercer County, West Virginia. You were right in the kind of mix of everything, and you moved up into the mountains a little bit, and but there's still a lot of weird lore in that area, and anyone who is from that area, and I do have subs that are from that area, not just you, have commented, hey, you know, this place is pretty crazy. There's a cave system that you and I had talked about, and another subscriber. You want to kind of fill us in on that cave system a little bit, and the location of it and stuff like that?
Sure. It's a cave. We have a main highway that runs through, both counties in the southern West Virginia. It's 460. And right as it turns at 460 west, if you're traveling from Tazwell down to Richlands, Claypool Hill, or on down to Tennessee, you get close to that area. But right before you enter the area of Claypool Hill, there's a cave right there where the highway was drilled and shot out years ago and making the 4-lane. There's a big hole in the front right there. I've took pictures before, and there's a lot of stuff that travels in that way, and I've heard rumors and stories about it for years. Well, come to find out, there's a big underground cave system under there. I'll get more of that here in a minute. A few weeks ago, a friend of mine's son-in-law, at the time, he was contracted out working for the D.O.T, the state, where they cut down the medians and the edges of the road during the summer, to keep the weeds down, and so people would have clarity driving or what have you. And it was real hot that day. Of course it would be in the middle of the summer, and driving in equipment with a cab on it with glass around just going to burn them up. So they were right there at that cave. So when it come their lunch, him and another boy decided to go, cut their machines off and go take a lunch in the mouth of that cave. Well, they both hopped up in there, and they were sitting right there in the front, just took a pop and a squat and was sitting there talking and boiling, and they didn't see nothing at the time. It was daytime. But, he told my father and my buddy, his father-in-law, he kept telling him about the smell and just how it felt different, that there was just something that stayed on his mind the whole time I was there. It was itching at him. Well, when they got up and went back to work, he didn't know it until he found out that evening he left his cell phone right there in the mouth of that cave. Well, they wouldn't let him go back and get it, so he waited till after work, and he had a few things to do before he go back down. I reckon it was right at the edge of dark. I think he said it was about 8:30, between 8:30 and 15:09 that evening. And he parked on the far side of the highway and run across the median and went across the other side and got up there in the cave. Well, you have to sort of jump to get up in there, and he was jumping, and of course he had to look around for the phone. And when he finally found it, he said he heard something clicking. To him, he described it sounded like nails bouncing off a hardtop if you walk. Well, every time he kept looking over his back, it would stop. And he'd go back to looking, and, a few seconds later, it'd start again. Well, finally, he found the phone. And when he turned it on to check it, he heard it again, so he looked over his shoulder. He turned the light on his phone and turned around, and he seen eyes. And I reckon it scared him so bad, he about fell out of the mouth of the cable. He seen that, and he took off running. Well, when he jumped down, he sprained his ankle jumping down. And when he took off running across that part of the highway, he heard something else jump down too, and he said it made a loud, like a thump when it hit the ground. Well, about the time he was on the far side of that one part of the highway is when he heard it. Then he started hearing click, 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 click. When he looked around, he seen something chasing him. And he said he didn't know what it was at the time, but he said it outrunning. He said it just went right, it didn't grab him, it just ran past him on the other side of the highway, and it jumped over the fence and went down the hill. Well, as he run up and got back in his vehicle, he's got an old SUV, and it's about had its last legs. It's old. It's a jalopper. Of course, it's a beater. Sometimes it can be hard to start, and just like in a classical horror movie this time, it was hard to start. So he goes trying to start it, and he had the windows down, of course, where it was hot. And when he kept cranking and cranking and cranking, then he said he heard something sniff real loud. And he turned to the right and looked outside, and he said, he seen eyes right there. It was about 20 foot from the side of his vehicle. Separating him from that side, there was a fence, and it was on private property. And he said about the time he got it started, he seen it jump over the fence. And he said as it jumped, it made contact. As it touched down, he squealed out. And he said he did see ears, and he said he did see eyes, and he couldn't see much of a mouth. And he said he seen a big furry chest, and he just took off. He said it was more of not exactly a brown, but a reddish color, a brownish red, and that's all he knows. But it scared him so bad, he will not go back. He quit the job the next day, and then come to find out, he knew somebody that, they hired somebody at one time. This guy told him that where that is, that hooks to an underground cave system, and it goes for miles and miles and miles. Well, he said he knew some contractors that come in, and they wanted to try to map the whole cave system. And he said they worked at it for about a week. And he said on the second week, they come in, and on that Tuesday, he called the guy that they had contracted him out to and said they quit. So they wasn't going back. They wasn't retrieving the equipment they had left down in the cave system. They would retrieve what equipment they left on the job site on the surface, but they were not going back and not ever contact them again. He said there was something down there, and they do not wish to go back. And that he told him in all conceits that he recommended that he not send nobody else down there so they might not come back out. He tried to get him to elaborate on what he saw, but he wouldn't go into detail.
Yeah, that's crazy. That cave system is, you had taken some pictures, which I'm going to share, which
yes,
will
sir.
be what everyone's seeing right now. There's a lot of little cave systems in Tazwell. And
all over.
Yeah, is that one? I believe is where one of the bodies of I forget offhand who it was, but he was found in one of those cave systems, wasn't he?
Yes, sir. He sure was.
And that was like the day that. Pardon?
You were right. It was the day they had all them cops out and stuff. You already knew about it.
Facebook, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, matter of fact, you contacted me, wanting to see if I knew anything, and they had found that boy's body right in somewhere close to that area. They wouldn't give the explicit place where he was found, but it's the same daggone cave system.
Yeah, that's really bizarre that they shut down the whole trail on Facebook. They said if you see, law enforcement, don't disturb them, let them get going with their job and yada yada. And sure enough,
right.
They found the bodies.
And try to explain it as suicide, and I know better than that.
Yeah, that was crazy because I think there are like at least 6 people within, 2
months of each other.
2021 and 2022, there was a bunch of missing people and a bunch of deaths, and that they ruled them all that way.
And like you did, you put that little bar together where they were all close to the same age. They all had made mistakes in their life. Most of them were former addicts at one time or another, but were doing better, and they all fit in that same bracket.
Yeah, they were 23 or something years old or something like that, I remember.
Yeah, I think it was like 23 to 35, and they all was in that same bracket.
Yep.
And it's like you said, it's like they was doing a trial run, and they were targeting certain people.
Yeah. That's that's not good. In that cave system, that where you had commented on a stink there that day that you had taken a picture.
Yeah, there was a stench there that's, I don't know if it was death, but it was like almost like death, but it smelled like a manure in a barn that had been there for months.
Yeah.
With the smell of rot.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. There was is that cave system in anywhere located to where that pale demon, what we call crawlers, was, or is that far?
That's far and gone from there. That's over in Buchanan County.
Okay.
But like I said, that's over there where all them old mines and stuff are. So I'm sure, it's on the same system, just in another county.
Yeah. There's just been a lot of strange. There's that guy that disappeared on Turkey Hill or Turkey something. That old guy that walked on it out of his backyard into a trail and never was seen again. They still haven't found. I'm crying.
The Amy girl still has not been located.
Yep.
And that's right over a year.
Or that guy from like 12, 15 years ago, the hunter there. That. I know. Gary. I'm not even going to attempt to remember. I don't want to.
Gary.
No, it wasn't Gary. It wasn't Gary.
But I know his name.
Yeah. But yeah, he's been gone.
His last name was Smith.
Yep. He's
been missed, like you said, for almost 10, 12 years.
15,
They still haven't found him.
15, around there. It was a while.
Yeah, he's been gone a long time.
Yeah, have you heard anything on your friend there, that the farmer that we had on one time that had impaled that juvenile dogman?
Yeah, that juvenile dogman. I've talked to the old man a little bit, but I've more or less wrote off the son-in-law because I went after that night, he showed his ignorance and told a bald-faced lie when his father-in-law was telling me the exact story. The boy told me the opposite, and he told it on, national area on your platform. And, I should have kept my mouth shut, but I called him out, and he's been mad at me ever since then. I blackballed him. I have no use for him. But the old man still says, there's things still going on around there. He said it's not been the same since that happened.
Yeah.
He said the deer population has moved on. they've lost their pets. You know, they've got one little dog and 2 cats, and he said they stay in the house 24/7. And if they do go, when they do go out, they're both, you know, he escorts them everywhere he goes to use the bathroom with a gun day and night. Things rattling at night, barking, howling. He's went as far as to even heard things about, he said the barn is about 60 yards from their house. And he said he goes out there sometimes at night, and he said he can hear stuff jumping on that old tin roof and running, jumping on the barn and jumping off when he walks out on the porch. He said it's not been the same since then.
Yeah. So is that where in location would that farm be to where those cave systems were?
That's in Mercer County.
That's in Mercer. Okay, that's right.
Yeah, in West Virginia. It's about, I don't know, 25 minutes from there, between 20 and 25 minutes by the highway.
Yeah, I found it funny, not funny at all, but real strange how in 2020, 2021, 2022, like we just said, there was just this massive amounts of activity. And last year, there was that real weird weather pattern that you guys had where it was wind and rain and flooding in one part of your county. And in your part where you were, you didn't get hit. And then someone reached out to me, the same guy that actually told me about the cave system probably right before I touched bases with you, and told me about some sort of government team being down there, and they had killed a female and pup Dogman, put it on a train and headed towards Tennessee with the thing.
Yes.
Out that way. But I found it strange that, you know, all that went on, and then right at kind of that time where that weather pattern hit and that Dogman was taken out of there, that a lot of the disappearances and deaths stopped.
Yeah, it has. It's been rather quiet the last few months. So actually very quiet.
Yeah.
Too quiet, as a matter of fact.
Which is, you know, that's disturbing. But, you know, maybe it's a good thing. And I think that just goes to show that they do. I don't think they migrate, but I think they're, you know, they're nomadic. They travel where the getting is good, you know?
Yeah, they travel where the food pattern is.
Yep.
Or for any other reason, really.
Yeah.
I heard a man talking about a month ago, and he believes in cryptids. He said he's had a couple of experiences, but he found Jesus, as, you know, most people should if they don't haven't already. And he's trying to link history with what's going on now. He's trying to link with the, you know, the Euphrates going dry, and, you know, the 4 demons that are locked and chained up under it with this times now, with all this stuff that we're seeing. He's got a crazy hypothesis on the subject. I think he's a little bit actually nutty. But anybody's trying to use any excuse they can to try to explain things. Not to say that what's not going on now is biblically related. A lot of it is, but he's far out. He's far left field.
Yeah, well, you know, we don't know, actually. It's just,
no, we don't.
Let him have his let him have his
say.
Puzzle pieces, you know, and because you never know, he might be right. It's kind of weird, you know.
Yeah, he could.
With all that, you know, whoever would have thought the Euphrates would dry up? Mississippi's drying up, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think the Mississippi goes through its own patterns anyway, but the Euphrates definitely dried up, that's terrifying.
Yes, it is.
That anyway, back to the cave there, that guy that I had talked to a while back, he had told me about this fox looking kind of Dogman. And then when you just talked about that young man seeing what he saw, and he said it was kind of a reddish brown. That kind of popped out at me. You know, maybe it's that same creature that guy saw a couple years back.
Could be, or maybe one of the pack or the family or what have you.
Yeah.
So evidently they're staying in that area. They're using that quite often.
Yep. And like you and I had said, it's a prime location. You're on the highway. There's, you know, they don't have to really go too far. Roadkill is right there. You know, there's water sources, especially if there's an underground cave system. There's going to be water sources under there.
Exactly.
You know, traffic, killing, you know, deer or whatever. And
there's a major waterway across the road there, across the highway.
Yeah. It's
everything they could ever want.
And that cave, just the pictures that you guys are looking at is the ones that DJ took. And it's just you can see the claw marks on the cave there, and it's just a weird looking place. I remember when you went out there, and I was like, dude, you need to be careful.
Yeah, and I had a big head, but I got smart. I didn't go back.
Yeah. So no activity in your neck of the woods there?
No, sir. It's been extremely quiet.
Good stuff. Good.
Everything's the way it should be.
Yeah.
But like you said, they're nomadic. You can turn right around an hour from now and all hell could break loose.
Yep. I think it's real strange how, and I was deep into looking at all those cases, you know, because it really had me curious of what was going on. First and foremost, I got a friend that lives there, you. And, you know, I want to know what the heck is going on. You got all these, I mean, Richard Timothy Honecker, when they found him in that culvert, was just, and then that police officer, when I called the police station, he let it slip that there was another body found that same night with him. And It's never been in the news ever.
Nope, never been publicized.
Real weird. I don't know. That whole Buchanan, Tazwell, and Mercer, there's a little triangle right there, and it's something isn't right. But I'm glad it's calming down a little bit. But still, now you've got something popping out. Maybe it was a freak sighting. Hopefully that was about it, but
I hope so. I'm thinking just because his presence was in that cave right at dusk.
Yeah.
Might have been the only reason.
Maybe it was just getting out of the cave to do a little hunting or something, and randomly got spotted. So
I just hope it was, like you said, you know, just a one-time thing.
Yeah, definitely.
But, like we were saying, you never know.
You definitely don't.
No, sir, you sure don't.
Well, all right, buddy. I appreciate you reaching out and sharing that with us. I hope that you stay safe and stay cool, and don't be doing anything. Yeah, don't be doing anything dangerous. Don't hang up.
Don't think I do.
Yeah, don't hang up because I want to talk to you for a little bit after here. But yeah, keep an eye out and keep your ears out for me if you don't mind about that cave system, because that seems like it's been really an area of happening. You know, it's
exactly.
Definitely something's living in there. And, you know, I mean, the whole police station, or not police station, but the whole police presence in that area, and then they found that body. I really think, you know, when they found that body, they probably uncovered something, and then shortly thereafter is when, you know, everything kind of went crazy in your town for 2 or 3 months, and then it stopped. Everything stopped. So I think they might have uncovered something, and then the government came in to clean up.
That's what I'm thinking. If they've got any sense at all, that cave that we're talking about right there off the side of the highway, they need to seal it.
Yeah.
However they do it, they need to seal it before they have something really, really bad go down.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, that cave system was created when they blasted through to create the road,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. When they drilled and shot that side of the high wall right there it was. They split the cave wide open.
Mm-hmm.
So the best thing they can do is seal that thing. I mean, pull it full of concrete, do whatever, have a small controlled explosion with inside of it, but they need to seal it up one way or the other.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all on that.
Or if that's too much, just drill it and put bars in it.
Yeah.
But if they don't do it soon, something's going to happen.
Yeah. Controlled explosion, I think,
Exactly.
So, all right, brother, don't hang up. I want to talk to you again a little bit. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. And try to stay cool this hot summer that we're coming up on.
Will do.
All right, brother. Good talking to you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, guys. Some very interesting and amazing information out of Tazwell, Virginia. If there is a hot spot in Virginia, that'd be the location, Tazwell, Buchanan, and Mercer County, West Virginia. That little triangle of cryptid activity. Anyway, I wanted to share with you guys his first interview, the interview that he shared his encounters with us the first time we ever heard from DJ. Here is that interview. All right, guys, tonight I have a subscriber who I spoke with just recently, and he was on his way to a doctor's appointment in the early morning out in Virginia, and he had a encounter with not one but two Dogman. Jay, how are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good, Jeffrey. How are you?
I'm doing well. So I'm going to probably just hand you the floor, and that way you can tell us what happened, and if any questions arise, I'll cut you off and ask away.
All right, buddy. Sure thing.
All right. Thanks a lot. Here we go.
Okie dokie. Well, Jeff, I had a lot of appointments Wednesday. I had a few appointments away from here, one in Abingdon and one in Bristol. So I had to leave early that morning. So got up real early, wee hours, and pulled out of the driveway about 10, 15 after 4 a.m. that morning. And I take a back road across from where I'm at to hit the 4-lane to go to the interstate. And as I was going across this back road, it takes about 10 minutes, and it's rural. I mean, it's way out in the sticks, so to speak. And I got about a couple miles from the house, and I was driving my wife's vehicle. It's not exactly new, but it's new to us because she ain't had it just a couple months, and she's real protective over it. It's a good little riding car. It's a PT Cruiser. And I was going around this big long curve. And I mean, it's a horseshoe curve. It's one that looked exactly like a horseshoe if you could see it from above map. And I slowed down to about, I guess, 20 mile an hour going into the curve. And all of a sudden, the vehicle acted as though you hit something and it vapor locked at the same time, but yet it shimmied. But the weight shifted from the right to the left. And I know good and well that it was no mechanical failure because it just don't act like that. So I hit the brake and I put it in park and I got out and was wondering. I revved it up. It was fine. And I thought I seen a shadow up the road, a shape. So I stuck my foot back in and lit it up with the brake light. And yeah, I made out a shape, a big, tall shape that was extremely dark. I didn't know what it was, but from what I could tell, I would say it was probably about, 30 feet. So I got just enough light from the taillight to make it out. And I didn't know what was going on. I didn't want to suspect the worst. But anyway, I started hearing the gravels move and something breathing. So I took my foot off the brake and reached in to grab my sidearm I carry with me when I take long trips. And as I was reaching to get it out of the holster from the passenger side seat, I heard brush breaking real slow, but right up on the left-hand side above me, there's about a 6 to an 8 foot bank up to it hits the woods. And it wasn't exactly moving fast, but I could tell what was moving was not a quadruped. It was bipedal, just like when a man steps, and it was breathing real loud. Well, when I turned around and looked, it stopped. And then it started moving real quick and real heavy. So I got in and slammed the door and broke it down and drive and got out of there. Well, I was really, really tore up. It really scared the crap out of me, what I thought it probably could have been. So I drove down the road about 1.5 miles, 2 miles, right where I could see the lights of the main road coming out and vehicles going in a little subdivision. I pulled off on a wide spot there and caught my breath and caught my bearings back on what I was doing. Well, I drove on down to the appointment, but first I had to make a stop. And when I made a stop, of course, the parking lot was lit up. So when I got out to run into what I had to do, I came back out, and by the light there, it was still early in the morning, the sun wasn't up yet. I walked over to the side and, checking. And right there down here, with the heat and the humidity, you've got dew on the vehicles early in the morning. It takes it a while to dry off. Well, you could see a print right there where it went through the dew and under that first fine layer of fine road dirt right there. And it was just starting to dry, but there was what I could make out. There was 4 fingerprints. And it looked like it had drugged, it rubbed probably 1.5 feet before, I guess, what it had did. It had let go of it, or I just, it couldn't stop it, or I went by so fast, I don't know, but you could make it out. And what I could tell, they were long fingers, looked like about 2 inches longer than mine, what I could make out. But real slender, real thin. Almost like chicken bone thin after it's been plucked down. And the fur, I guess the hair, whatever it was, that's what backed it up. That's what I knew what it pretty well was. You could see the pattern of the fur off the sides looked like a chamois cloth with, I guess you would say, leech extension hanging off of it, like loose fitting material, or like it was frayed. And I could tell that was the hair. And then right then and there, I knew what I had seen and I had come in contact with. But one of the reasons I know to get out of there, I'm not an idiot, but at the same time, I'm not a coward. One, I know I had the gun, but 2, the caliber weapon that I had that morning is a decent weapon as far as carrying around if, you have any trouble with, a human or a perp trying to stop you. But what I've researched about and know about these things, a 32 automatic wouldn't do nothing but probably piss it off. And not only that, I'm not stupid. 1 man versus 2, and I've got 1 mag full of 10. No, I don't think so. It's not worth my life. And there's been a lot of things happen on this road in the last 30 years. This road's famed for, it's had 2 murders on it in the last 30, 35 years. One was just recently here about 2 years ago, and there's all kinds of stories about this road back here being haunted, and this is seen and that's seen. Well, maybe there's something to it now. I don't know, but I'm taking precautions, and I've done warn the wife, not to travel that way at all at dusk or dawn, unless it's an absolute emergency, and do not stop for nothing, and make sure the doors are locked. And I've told her if she ever goes across it to carry a weapon at all costs.
Right. Now, when you came up to it, because there was initially when we had talked, you said there was another one on the other side of the road that you had seen.
Yeah, I've seen an eye. What I did, I came back that way a few minutes later. I had to run back and get something from the house. I forgot some papers. And I stopped in that very area. And I had a little Coast flashlight I carried with me, LED, about 130, 125, 130 aluminum. And I shined it up in that area. And I didn't see nothing when I was getting ready to go. Then all of a sudden, there was this laurel bush, about 5 foot high, probably 4 foot wide, and it had 3 trees growing out of the side of it. It looked like little oak trees, I guess, where the acorns had dropped. But about 5 foot off to that one in the middle, there was a blue eye. A blue eye caught the light, and I seen it blink. And I got out there. I didn't even get out of the car. I just rolled the window enough down to shine the light out and look real quick, and I had the doors locked, and I seen eye shine, and it was blue. It was not gold like the rest of them, they say, but it was blue. It gave a blue reflection. And all I seen was a one eye, but the tree was so close together, the other one, I figured it was behind it. And when it blinked, I got out there. But it was about 5 foot off the ground. That was enough to tell me that it was no small critter or raccoon or possum or coyote or anything like that.
Was there any noise or, like...
Yeah, you could hear the noise. You could hear the leaf litter cracking around it where it was standing. So I knew there was something standing there. Yes.
Okay. All right. So when you went back, you went to your appointment afterward.
Yes.
I'm assuming daytime or a little brighter.
Yeah, it was a little brighter. It was starting to break dawn.
Did you see any like I don't know, because you said there was like laurel bush and some brush and stuff. Was there any like indentations that you noticed, like from it?
I did notice the shine. I'm thinking what was an ear, like the shadow went past, the eye and up, and you could see like a shadow of like a point.
Okay.
I guess like a fourth of the ear standing up. So yeah, I pretty well know what it was.
Okay. All right.
And the one I had previously seen by the light of the tail light, it was no human, it was no man. Because one, it was too tall, and two, you could just tell by the outlook. The head, from what I could tell, wasn't exactly where a man should have been. It sort of looked down.
Right.
And it was wide. It was very wide. But when I started hearing the gravel moving, and it was a weird sound when the gravel started moving, like something was rubbing on the gravel when it was picking up its feet. Like a dragging sort of sound, like if something was draggy, I would guess the toenails.
Okay.
I would go to say more or less the claws.
Right. Now, just back to when you parked the car and you were looking at the prints on your car.
Right.
Was there a difference, like, because you said that the fingers were skinny, was there a difference in, like, where the claw would be from the finger?
You could see a light indentation, 4 light indentations, where evidently the tip of the claw made contact with the surface of the paint.
Okay.
And when I got home that evening after I stopped by and washed it, I was able to take a chamois cloth and some wax and wax them out for the most point. And what I couldn't wax out, the way the car is colored and clear coated, it's really, really hard to spot unless you're right up on it with a magnifying glass. But yeah, there's still remnants of it there.
Okay. All right. So pretty much Virginia is, I've been making a map of encounters lately, and I have you as a subscriber that lives in Virginia, another subscriber that lives in Virginia, and from Pennsylvania, it seems like they're traveling south for some reason.
Right, correct.
But they're stopping. I'm really not sure where, because they'd go to, Luke's all the way down to Mississippi. The other subscriber that I have that lives in Virginia, he has noticed that the animals are, he said that there was an abundance of smaller animals back in the day, squirrels, chipmunks, raccoons. They disappeared. And then the bears came.
Right.
And now the bears came off the mountain. So I'm thinking that these things are coming from the north and going south using these ridges and stuff. I'm trying to figure out why. It's just
I would think it possibly, Jeff, bro, because of the seasons. I guess if you think about it, as intelligent as what they say they are, And from what I've seen and learned and researched, they show high intelligence. But possibly migrating is like the birds would, in the amount of small game that's down south.
Yep. Yep.
And a perfect example, like a highway that runs clean through your state in 2 hours, is the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah, and that would make sense where the bears would be coming off that mountain, through that trail down into mainland. And, like Luke said, that den that's on his old property, his family doesn't own it anymore, but he would notice like a migration period.
Correct.
It's just strange that these things. I don't know. I'm confused because I wonder if they go straight down the Appalachian and then out west towards the west, out towards Oklahoma that way, because from the map that I'm making, I literally have it pinpointed to where it goes down the southern coast, not on the coast, but down the south, and then out towards Oklahoma. I don't know if they're staying there, and it's just very strange. And these things are, the more you have, the more questions that seem to get answered, the more questions arise, and it's very strange.
Exactly.
So,
well, if most patrons would draw up the map of the Appalachian Trail, not just the states in want to attend, but the counties of the state that we're in, and follow it from state to state. It's a clean path from up there above where you're at on down through Pennsylvania, West Virginia, us in Virginia, down through the Carolinas, down through the other southern states, and it starts, like you said, it starts bearing out toward the west until it stops. And if they get off that, it's just a straight shot right through to Louisiana and Mississippi and Texas.
Yep.
And in my opinion, Virginia is the hub. We're right in amongst this, because I know you're more than well aware that, some of the states that are growing with the population of these things is, of course, they say Michigan's where it all started, but they're forgetting about Kentucky. Kentucky's eat up with these things, from what I understand.
Yeah, I mean, they say Michigan, but then the LBL is the
in Kentucky.
Yeah, that's in my eyes, that's the hot spot. That's the zone.
And then you've got Kentucky, then you got Tennessee. Tennessee's got a lot of them too, and the Appalachian Trail goes right through Tennessee.
Yep.
And on down, I mean, like you said, the southern coastal states. And I don't know if they're migrating, if the biggest population of them is moving because their habitat is being torn down and cut. I don't know, but there's more of these things that are here. I mean, they're a reality for one thing. For the patrons listening tonight, or when you do listen to this, they are real. I don't care what anybody else tells you, what the government denies, or what scientists won't recognize. They are a reality. Not only just a reality, they're a growing number of reality.
Yep.
And, the government covers up a lot of conflicts and run-ins with these things more than what people understand.
Absolutely.
So something's gonna change, or should change, hopefully for the better. If not, there's going to be so many confrontations with these things that it'll just spin out of control.
Yeah, well, I think what's going to happen is just what's been happening, is that it'll just stay a cover-up, and wolves and cougars and bears will get blamed, and until there is that disclosure. So,
right.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and telling us your encounter.
Right.
I hope that you remain safe, and it's very, very smart carrying a firearm with you, especially traveling at night, early mornings when it's dark out. it just seems like these things are getting more brazen, and just they setting up these traps for motorists at odd hours. So
Exactly.
Jay, I appreciate you coming on, and
I thank you.
I hope that you don't have another encounter, but if you do, you know who to get a hold of.
Yes, sir, I sure do.
All right, you got anything else to say?
Well, I think I do. If the patrons out there listening and the good folks of the United States, let's think a little bit for the ones who want to wish for a happening to run into these things. I wish you would really think twice about it. And for the ones pursuing them, I would not recommend doing it, even for the most seasoned of Bigfoot hunters, because these are a beast of a different nature. And for the rest of the world, the ones that even try to pursue it or even thinking about if they wish to, think with your head and your heart for a change. Don't think of what's happened to me and others. I'm sure they're not all evil. I mean, there's good and bad in everything, including the human race. There's a wise saying, and that saying is, man fears what it doesn't understand, and therefore we hate what we fear. And it's just human nature to try to eradicate what we fear. So let's take a few minutes to think real strong and hard about if we want to cast the first stone. But that's about all I have, Jeff.
All right. I appreciate that, and I wish you nothing but luck and the best. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Have a great night.
You as well. Good night.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, folks, there you have it. I hope you all enjoyed today's night-ending bonus upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd really like to thank you all for supporting the channel. After all, it is your support that helps this channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.